Hello, my name is Carmen. I'm a fairly new VTuber who streams on Twitch. I'm also an avid reader, so I wanted to have a platform since I do have a YouTube VOD to be able to also discuss books. This is my very first video, which I hope it becomes a series of videos to be able to share what I'm reading, talk about what you're reading, get some suggestions for future reads. So, if you don't mind, let's get started. I love reading horror, dark fiction, anything that is thought provoking, a little dark, a little questionable. I love to read it. So, I'm always open to suggestions. I like dark fiction, horror. I'm starting to venture into sci-fi a little bit, but I'm not very much into fantasy. So some of the sci-fi can kind of bleed over into fantasy. But so my first read is Mary by Nat Cassidy. I'm trying to keep things as spoiler free as I can, but I also want to give you a basic idea of some of the themes that go through the book, but we'll try not to spoil it for you. So, Mary is the first premiere book from Nat Cassidy. I previously read Rest Stop. It was a short novella from Nat Cassidy, and I had gotten it on Kobo. I'm an avid supporter of Kobo since I don't like some of Amazon's practices on how they pay their authors and some of their rights to that author's material. So I do support reading on Kobo, and I have the Kobo Libra color. Anyway, I digress. So I read Rest Stop, which was a novella from Nat Cassidy, and that discusses a person who is going to visit their deceased grandmother, who is also an awful person, and this person does not want to go see his grandmother. That was such a great book that I really wanted to read other things from Nat Cassidy. Mary was one of those that was really highly recommended by other YouTubers, and I'm glad I picked this up. It was really a great novel. So Mary is his premiere um, book that he wrote. Um, it is his debut novel, and it was written in 2022. Mary's a woman who's living in New York. She's in her 40s, later 40s. She's starting to go through perimenopause and starting to feel some of those symptoms, hot flashes, trouble sleeping, night sweats, all those things that start happening to a woman in her 40s, getting into 50s. She is pretty much living a pretty predictable life in New York. She's had the same apartment, she's had the same job for the last 20 years. And then she finds out that she loses her job. She was working in a bookstore. They're going the way of a lot of bookstores where they're changing their model, adapting to more like gifts and other things, and they don't really have a place for her anymore. They're trying to get a younger staff. She's faced with that. So not only is she's going through the beginning stages of perimenopause, she's losing her job. Well, then she finds out that her rent is gonna double. Now what is she gonna do? She gets a call from her aunt who helped raise her, and they've been pretty estranged because her aunt is just insufferable. So her aunt's going through some health concerns. Her aunt's daughter is basically taken off, left her aunt pretty much on her own. Her aunt's in another state, believe it's Arizona, and her aunt's is basically guilting her, saying, "I helped raise you. Y- you owe me," that kind of terrible aunt. Um, so Mary doesn't really have a lot of choice in the matter. She's having a lot of issues um, with her current situation. So she's going to go help her aunt see if she can figure out what to do next. So as this is going along, this is where the supernatural element comes in. She's starting to see things, and she's seeing people's faces being disfigured. She's seeing her own face in the mirror being disfigured. And then she's also having the experience of auto writing where she doesn't remember writing something. Um, yeah, so this is, she goes back to this town. Um, there is some past serial killer activity, cult activity. All this is going on at the same time. She's dealing with her aunt, who is just terrible. The way that Nat Cassidy writes family members and family dynamics is amazing. He did the same thing in Rust Stop, and I just love how Nat Cassidy writes families in his books. So my overall take of this book, it was amazing. I loved it. Highly recommend it. It's not just for women who are going through menopause. It really is a great book for anybody interested in horror, serial killers. Any, it really does speak a lot to uh, a lot of things. So things I loved about this book, there was the unreliable narrator is one of those tropes that I really do like. One thing that's overused is like an amnesia. That's always something that I feel is overused, but the the thing with this unreliable narrator is she losing it, or is this something, some sort of psychosis, or are these things really going on? I love that in a book where the you can't really b- totally believe what the narrator is saying, but you don't know for sure. You don't know for sure. So I really love that about this book. I also loved the discussions around aging and women's bodies and how women see themselves, how they see each other, how men see women as they age, and then what happens to our bodies as we age and how that affects those around us as well. Um, in this book talks about how, women are at a certain age almost useless. That's a terrible thing to say, but they do go into that of like beyond a certain age, are you put out to pasture really? Um, Another thing I love, and this is a smidgies of a spoiler, is that there is no love interest in this. I really like how a love interest is not forced into this novel, where in a lot of other novels, the love interest didn't need to be there. And in this book, there is no love interest. Sorry about this smidges of a spoiler, but yeah, that was my takeaway from Mary. It's an amazing book. I really highly recommend it. 5 stars from me. Please take a look at it. But thank you for watching. This is my first book review, and thank you for allowing me to have a platform to express my love of books. I would love your suggestions on more books you would like me to read. And I have a couple more that I am going need to record and upload to YouTube. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and then that way you'll get notified of my future books. I'm also a VTuber, so if you like watching video games, I am on Twitch and I am on YouTube. So why don't you take a look at that? So for now, I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye, everybody.